Hello students, welcome to the class on retail merchandising. Before going ahead on learning about it, let us first put our attention to the concept of merchandising. The past decade has witnessed sea change in the world of retail, of which increasing competition is just one aspect. New and emerging technologies and customer fragmentation has made it even more difficult for retailers to retain consumers who are loyal to their stores. Walters and Herhan have identified four key elements of the strategic direction that retailer may take. They are: 1. Mercantile strategy, 2. Communication strategy, 3. Customer service strategy, and 4. Format and environmental strategy. Among all the elements of retail strategy, that of merchandising is becoming increasingly important, eventually determining the loyalty that a customer may have for a retail store. Over the years, the concept of merchandising has also evolved. From an era when manufacturers decided what the consumers needed to buy, to a time when consumers are the decision makers, the change in the world of merchandising has been phenomenal. Merchandising is a method, practice, and operations used to promote and sustain certain categories of commercial activity. In the broader sense, merchandising is any practice which contributes to the sale of products to a retail's consumers. At a retail in store level, merchandising refers to the variety of products available for sale and display of those products in such a way that it stimulates interest and entices customers to make a purchase. Merchandising is not a synonym for the buying function. It is an integrated end-to-end business process that runs from planning the assortment to sourcing, to distribution, to allocations of the goods to the stores, to promoting and distribution, to promoting and selling the assortment to the customers, and finally to refill inventory as necessary. Now, meaning and definition of merchandising. The word mercantile means goods bought and sold for profit. Mercantile refers to goods and commodities sold at the retail level. Merchandising is buying, presenting, and selling of merchandise. This includes all related activities such as advertising, display, and promotion of merchandise involving the retail customers. According to Lewison, retail merchandising is the process of developing, obtaining, pricing, supporting, and communicating the retailer's merchandise offering. According to American Marketing Association, merchandising is the planning involved in marketing the right merchandise at the right place, at the right time, in the right quantities, at the right price. The merchandising challenge of consistently having the right product in the right quantity, available at the right place, at the right time, and right price becomes increasingly difficult as more selling and fulfilling locations are added to a distributed retail model. Achieving these 5 rights is the key to the successful merchandising. So, let us now look into some principles of merchandising. Drawing upon the basic 5 rights of merchandising, the basic principles around which the functions of merchandising revolve are: 1. Understand the target market. The retailer exists for the customer. Thus, products retailed in the store should be a reflection of consumers' needs and wants. The first step towards this would be the ability to understand who the consumer actually is and the type of products that he or she actually requires. 2. Build the mercantile plan one store at a time. Each store is different. The customers visiting each stores are different. Hence, they have to be understood as separate entities. While the mercantile plan is built for the company as a whole, there has to be elements within peculiarities of each store and region are taken into account. 3. Buy what your customers want, not what you want. The buyer is the representative of the consumer, and it is necessary to remember that the choice and taste of target consumers may be very different from his or her. The buyer therefore needs to offer what the customers will want rather than what he or she likes. 4. Build the right assortment. In the case of most products that are bought or consumed, the consumer is always looking for choice. A wide assortment of the right kind of goods goes a long way in building consumer loyalty towards the brand and or the store, as the case may be. 5. Be consistent. Where building a range of products for the consumer, it is very necessary to ensure consistency across all product offerings. Consistency is required not only in choice of products offered, but also in terms of their quality. Keeping in view the target market, products and brands offered should be consistent with the image that the retailer seeks to create for itself in the minds of consumers. 6. Offer value. The consumer's decision to buy a product is not always governed by price alone. Increasingly, he or she is seeking value in the purchase made. Low price may not have always factor of favoring of sales, and the perception of value that the product provides eventually influences the consumer's decision. 7. Understand the needs at the vendor and negotiate a win-win. While vendors play a very key role in the entire process of buying, it is very necessary that buyers understand the strengths and weaknesses of each vendor and also the factors that motivates them. If the goals of the organizations are consistent with what the vendor seeks to achieve, a better and long-term working relationship can be predicted. 8. Share information. Sharing information with the vendors often goes a long way in creating a sense of responsibility and involvement among them. Crucial information that is shared on a timely basis may even affect the long-term success or failure of a product or a range of products. 9. Accept the mistakes happen. A product or a range launched may not always meet with the expectation successfully. When a buyer is informed what some particular merchandise has not met with the success that was anticipated, it is essential to liquidate or move the goods and open up the selling space to other inventory. 10. Seek to surprise the customer. The merchandise is what draws the consumer to the retail store. If the merchandise in the store excites the customer, and exceeds his expectations time and again, the customer will have reason to keep coming back to the store. Now, let us look into importance of merchandising. Merchandising plays an extraordinary role in creating customer value and delivering it to the customer due to its major importance as shown in this figure. Now, let us look at the importance in details. 1. Role in marketing plan. Merchandising is an important part of the marketing plan and has a reasonable budget allocated. Including merchandising in marketing plan and budget makes sense. It can make the difference between selling a product and having it sit on the shelf. 2. Customers' attention. Everyone is competing for the customer's attention. There are more choices out there for consumers than ever before. With all these choices, what will grab the consumer's attention? Retailers invest the money to get the expensive high traffic location, but how will they keep the customers from walking right by their door? How will they encourage them to return again? And what is the unique thing about their store? About investing money on the important priorities such as merchandise, great location, part-time staff, insurance, accountant, advertising, retailers' budgeted money can be lost if their store does not measure up to the customer's expectation. 3. Build business image. Merchandising is more than simply the arrangement of products on the shelf. It is an integral component of the business image. It should be considered when retailers design their logo, business cards, brochures, letterheads, packaging and product mix. 4. Create an environment. Merchandising helps to create an environment that attracts the consumers, customers and encourages the customers to return. 5. Investment decision. As the financial aspects of buying merchandise can be treated as an investment decision, there is the final aspect of monitoring all aspects of the progress to ensure adequate returns are achieved. 6. Meet future demand. Merchandise is acquired for meeting demands in future, so forward planning is necessary in relation to changing consumption, taste and demand. 7. Competitive advantage. Retailers are able to achieve competitive advantage from merchandising. 8. Improve profitability. Merchandising affects profitability in two ways. 1. The merchandise in store affects the volume of sale, and 2. Since profitability is based on the turnover rate of inventory, the choice of merchandise and quantity of merchandise of each category stocked affects the overall profitability of establishment. Now, let us see functions of merchandising. Merchandising functions performed by buyer can be categorized into 5 categories. 1. Analysis of market opportunities. A very crucial responsibility of all buyers is the identification of profitable market opportunity for the business. This necessitates that the buyer undertake the analysis of trends and development of consumer buying behavior in general as well as in relation to the buyer specific area of responsibility. 2. Creation of mercantile planning. Validating by sound market and competitor analysis. The mercantile plan details the nature and characteristics of the product range in terms of its breadth, the range of different categories and depth, that is the choice of product within a specific category. 3. Selecting the supply base. Derived from the analysis of market opportunities and based upon financial forecast, it is then the buying function's responsibilities to identify appropriate source of supply. This investigation will include the application of supplier selection criteria that will typically extend beyond merely price of supply considerations to include issues pertinent to the supplier's record on the employee's rights and use of child labor. 4. Product development and supplier performance management. Motivated by desire to improve profit margins and secure customers' loyalty through distribution exclusivity, many buyers have developed own brand range. The development has in many cases resulted in retail buyers assuming significant control over the supply chain. 5. Presentation of merchandise at point of sale. In recognition of the need to ensure that merchandise is presented in sufficient quantity to meet demand and in a manner that is conducive to prompt consumers or customers to purchase the range, it is appropriate that the buying team should be involved in decisions related to presentation of merchandise at the point of sales. Now, let us look factors affecting the merchandising function. Merchandising does not function in isolation. It is affected by various factors like organizational structure, the size of retail organization and the merchandise to be carried. This is shown in this diagram. 1. Size of organization and types of store. The function of merchandising vary from one organization to another. The needs of an independent retailer will vary considerably from those of a large chain store operation. In every retailing endeavor, no matter what size, the most fundamental activities are buying merchandise and reselling it to its customers. The owner or manager who may be assisted by the salespersons may perform the buying function in case of single store. As the single store grows in terms of business, it may add departments. Functional departmentalization may occur and the number of persons involved in the buying process may increase. In case of a chain store, the buying function may be centralized or decentralized geographically depending on the retail organization. The buyer for a chain store may have a fair amount of say in terms of the buying price simply because the quantities involved are much larger than those of an independent retailer. As a chain store exists across regions and at times across nations also, the buyer would also have to keep the specific regional preferences in his mind. 2. Merchandise to be carried. The merchandise to be carried by a retailer largely determines the responsibilities of the merchandiser. The buying for basic merchandise is fairly different from buying for fashion merchandise. Now, basics are those products or items which the retailer will always keep it in stock. 3. Organizational structure. The organizational structure that the retail organization adopts also affects the merchandising function. Some organizations may demarcate the role of the buyer and the role of a merchandiser separately, while in a smaller organization, one person may carry out all the duties and roles. Let us now take our discussion towards mercantile management. The primary function of retailing is to sell merchandise. One of the most strategic aspects of the retail business is to decide the merchandise mix and quantity to be purchased. The merchandising challenge is consistently having the right product in the right quality available at the right place, at the right time and at the right price. Mercantile management is the process by which a retailer attempts to offer the right quantity of the right product at the right place and time while meeting the retail firm's financial goals. Mercantile management can be termed as the analysis, planning, acquisition, handling and the control of mercantile categories for an identified retail organizations. Let us look in all these key terms in bit detail. 1. Analysis. Analysis, because retailers must be able to correctly identify their customers before they can ascertain customer desires and their needs or requirements for making good buying decisions. Mercantile analysis expects retailers to identify the target segment prior to determining their needs in order to buy their required merchandise. 2. Planning. Planning is important because merchandise to be sold in the future must be brought now. Mercantile planning consists of establishing objectives and devising plans for obtaining merchandise well in advance of the selling season. 3. Acquisition. Acquisition because the merchandise needs to be procured from others, either distributors or manufacturers. 4. Handling. Handling involves seeing that the merchandise is where it is needed and in the proper condition to be sold. 5. Control. Control is required since the function is about merchandising, which involves spending money for acquiring products. It is necessary to control the amount of money spent on buying. Mercantile control involves designing the policies and procedures in order to determine whether the stated objectives or goals have been achieved. Mercantile management focuses on the planning and controlling of the retailer's inventories. The role has to balance the financial requirement of the company with a strategy for mercantile purchasing. So, we have learnt few things about mercantile in this lecture. In next lecture, we will learn the various processes and components in mercantile managements. Thank you.